So the last few years have really changed for me as far as hunting my homestead in Nebraska. Going back to 2017, the farm that myself and my family had hunted for over 20 years actually ended up selling, and we lost that piece of property. And guys, let me tell you, that was pretty devastating. All the years of memories, all the hard work of managing that piece of ground, and I just couldn't believe it was gone. I knew going into 2018 I was going to have to do a lot of work and try to find some more property to hunt. But I jumped on the HuntStand app, got on there to the property info part of it, and man, I started studying. I started looking around for some land and started making phone calls, and I was just striking out, guys. To be honest with you, I just could not find anything. Finally, I ended up getting permission on a couple different pieces. We had those for 2 to 3 years and ended up making some great memories on those pieces of property. My dad killed a couple great bucks on one of them. I killed a great buck on another one, and it ended up being fantastic. But in the back of my mind, I'm still wanting to find something. I'm still wanting to find something that I can call my own, something that I can do different things on, some management practices, and things like that, because I really enjoy that. And I got to thinking, about that place that I had lost, that my family had had for over 20 years, and just thinking of memories and things like that. And I'm like, is there any other land that, I had growing up? My dad and grandpa were farmers for many years. We used to have a lot of land back then. And I remember, riding in the tractor, the combine, stuff like that when I was younger on these pieces of ground and hunting, or sitting with my dad hunting or whatever. I remembered this small 60-acre piece that laid on the river here where I live, and I remembered that it was between 2 really big blocks of timber on the neighboring properties. I thought to myself, man, if I could just get that little 60 acres that sat in between these 2 really good pieces of property that had really good bedding on it, it would act as a really good funnel to go, it's just kind of a thin strip of timber in a field right along the bank of the river. I just knew that these deer would probably use that to travel to and from bedding areas, at least during the rut. Found the piece of property on HuntStand, ended up gaining permission, guys, long story short, ended up gaining permission on the 60 acres. At this point, I am super excited. I have no intel, no cameras running, nothing. And I believe it was somewhere around the 15th, 16th, 17th, middle of October. And I told my wife, you know what, it's time to dive in there. Putting a stand on my back, we're gonna go do a hang and hunt, and I'm gonna see what's in there. We got a cold front blow in, it's like 40 degrees out, the wind had picked up. I'm like, if there's a day that I'm gonna go in there and see if I can see a mature buck, see if there's anything in here, today is that day. So I slipped in there 2 hours earlier than I thought I needed to get in there. I believe I got in there around 2 o'clock, and I start hanging my stand. I get about 2 muddy sticks up, and I look over and I catch movement in the timber on the neighbors in this bedding area. And I'm like, holy smokes, there's already deer up on their feet moving around. And lo and behold, I catch a glimpse of antler, and it's a big deer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not gonna get this stand hung. I've gotta get down and try to make something happen. So I climbed down off the 2 sticks I had hung. I'm scrambling to get the camera out, scrambled to get my bow ready. By the time I got it up there, got an arrow nocked, got ready, the deer's already out to like 47, 48 yards, something like that. He's quartering away quite a bit. And I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's day one, this deer's here. Let's not make a bad shot. So I ended up letting the deer move off. The majority of the deer ended up moving off. I ended up being able to get the tree stand up, and got in there, got set up, and ended up seeing the deer again later in the evening. And he'd kind of come through, ended up heading north, and I thought, man, I gotta get some cameras in here. I gotta get some intel to see if this deer is regular or what the deal is. So I did that, and the deer pretty much just disappeared. I think I got 1 or 2 pictures of him at most within the week after that I had saw him. And then he just vanished. And we're at that point where deer, late October, deer are starting to move into their fall ranges, and I just kind of guessed. I guess this deer, summered here, spent early season here, and then moved somewhere different during the rut. And that's exactly what this deer did. I had 0 pictures of him, Zero intel, nothing. This deer was a ghost the whole entire month of November. I ended up hunting the home farm, killed a great management buck, a really, really old deer. And it was cool to shoot a deer on my home farm. I hadn't killed one there since 2017, and meant a lot to me to finally kill a deer there. And ended up killing a great deer in Kansas as well during the gun season. What a cool deer. This 5x5 side is quite impressive, and it looks like he had an extra tine right here and maybe even right here. Just a cool deer. I'm tagged out basically, other than what we call our statewide buck tag here in Nebraska. And what that allows you to do is hunt all the season. So I can hunt with a bow, muzzleloader, rifle. And I knew muzzleloader season was coming up. It's the whole month of December here in the state of Nebraska. And I knew it was time to break that muzzleloader out, get it sighted in, get it ready to go. You know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, maybe this big 9-pointer survived. Maybe he could show back up to this range, you know, his early season range, late in the season, which is a lot of times what they do. And it's now getting close to Christmas. I'm watching the trail cameras, and boom, he finally shows up. Here he is. And I'm like, man, I knew it. He survived. I knew he was going to show back up, and here he is. Jumped on HuntStand, looked at the extended forecast, and I saw that we were going to get some fantastic weather. And that last week of December, I ended up getting those pictures, and I knew, looking at the extended forecast, he was going to move on a specific day. And I believe it was like the 27th, 28th, something like that. And I told my wife, I'm going in. I'm moving in. I'm going to try to get this deer killed. So I slip in there, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get to the tree stand because it was just too close to where they were coming out. And I had a feeling I was probably going to get busted either getting in the stand, or with the number of deer that were coming out into the field, you know, does were going to get around me and I might get busted trying to move, filming myself and stuff like that. So made the decision to just sit in a low profile chair. I call them turkey chairs. About 80-90 yards off of where these deer were coming out of the timber. And lo and behold, get in there, get set up. I actually watched the deer stand up out of his bed. He gets up, starts moving actually to the south towards the river. And I'm thinking, gosh, you know, he's going to go over there across the river and I'm not going to see him.
He is a stud. I would love to kill this deer just because of the encounter I had with him and everything. He's just been the one that got away all season, and it kind of started my season off bad. And man, if I could capitalize and get this sucker shot, it would be an awesome story for me.
But I also thought, well, maybe he's just going to go get a drink and then come back through here. And that's exactly what he ended up doing. I look over to my left, and here comes this big 9-pointer. Just like he owns the world, coming into the field. He was definitely the dominant buck in the area. He ends up coming along the edge of the field, and I figured I was going to get about an 85 to 90 yard shot at him. Map. The deer goes only about 20 yards, beds down. I'm thinking it's over. And the deer actually starts to move a little bit. And so at this point, I'm getting kind of nervous, like, geez, you know, did I make not a good shot? You know, what's going on? So I ended up getting permission from the neighbor, call him, ended up slipping up there, and the deer was pretty much done for, but ended up shooting him one more time. Just didn't want the deer to suffer, and put him down. He got away from me then, didn't get away from me tonight with the muzzleloader. The story of the Big 9, you know, this permission property, all the chaos, all the things that have happened, you know, me gaining property, losing property, and all that stuff finally came together on a giant 168-inch 9-pointer that's back here behind me. Just all the planning, preparation, and patience paid off. The HuntStand app paid off. Not only finding the property, finding the landowner, using the app, but also being able to look at that extended forecast and know that this deer was probably going to show up because of weather patterns and things like that. So it meant a lot to me. It was really, really cool. And here's the result back here behind me. Just a beautiful deer, and I couldn't be more happy with him. Hope you guys have enjoyed this whole series. It's been a lot of fun. I'm blessed to be a part of it. So God bless, guys. We'll see you in the next episode of The Setup.